So we're now recording. Hi, my name is Leith Gaines. I'm the Executive Director at Columbia Center for the Arts, and I am here with Genevieve Scholl, who wears many hats. In this particular interview, she is the curator of our show that's opening on September 3rd at Columbia Center for the Arts, called Don't Quit Your Day Job. We'll find out a little bit more about the title of that show in a minute, but just wanted to let you know the show runs for the month. We are located at 215 Cascade Avenue, right in downtown Hood River. Our hours are 11 to 5, Tuesday through Saturday. And this is our opportunity to meet the person who pretty much came up with the idea for the show and also chose the artist for the show, which is slightly unusual. I mean, we have different ways we go about putting shows together, but we have on occasion have one person curate the show, and Genevieve graciously offered to do that this time, and I feel really great about that. So welcome, Genevieve.
Thank you. It's truly my honor.
Yeah. So Genevieve also, very grateful. Yes, and Genevieve also serves on our board, which I am incredibly grateful for. I don't know how we would do it without her. She's fabulous.
Also an honor.
And she's also an artist who holds a full-time job and is raising a family, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And as the curator of the show, she isn't able to submit work for this particular exhibit, but she does have a piece of her work behind her right now, and her work is stunning. And we do have a couple pieces that are in the current show, The Best of the Gorge, and I have to say they both are sold. So got that going. So no, but they are fabulous pieces. Yes, I love your work. Okay, so let's get going. And why don't we start by talking about how you came up with the theme of Don't Quit Your Day Job for a whole month's exhibition at the gallery?
Well, you know, it really just came out of a conversation with Rachel Erickson, our gallery manager, who is also an artist with a day job. And, you know, it's really been kind of an ongoing thing for me. I think it's typical of artists to seek out others who are sharing the same lived experience that they are. You know, like many people, I really connect with other artists on Instagram. And so many of the artists that I really admire are juggling a day job, juggling and other concerns, you know, to keep food on the table, roof over their head, and while also being serious in developing their art, which I think is just, it's a really not even a very unique experience. It's something that's really, really very common, but not often really discussed in depth of, you know, what is that to do that? You know, what does it do to your art? What does it do to the artist? What does it do to the day job? You know, so it's just kind of a conversation that we thought was intriguing and compelling and a way to really kind of bring some interesting sharing out amongst the art community here in the Gorge. There's so many of us, and especially this past year, so much, you know, just high levels of baseline stress that are all kind of wrapped around working, not just on your art, but just working. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's a lot to be said, a lot of really compelling things to be said. And so it really just came out of a lived experience. Hey, why don't we just feature folks who are working, see how that goes.
And did you provide some kind of a prompt in the call to artists to apply that gave them something to think about when they were creating work for the show?
Well, no, really. I mean, you know, a lot of times the shows at CCA they do have that prompt. They do have, you know, some cool sort of a theme. And this really is not organized around a theme. It's organized around an identity. The artist's identity is somebody who's working also at the time. And it's wide open in terms of content, which I think is going to actually make it really exciting. You know, really the only common thread is that the maker of each of those works has a major distraction in their lives, in their daily lives, and that is their day job. And so that compulsion, you know, to create under any circumstances really manifests in these beautiful works. And then in the background, you see, oh, that person had, you know, something else going on for 40, 60 hours that week. And what does that, what does that really mean? And so that's the only common thread. It's a really varied show, exceptional work. I'm so excited about a lot of this work. Like myself, one of the common themes, experiences for folks who are working and developing their art is generally their inventory is pretty low. You don't really often have, racks and racks of paintings that you can draw from and show at any time. So some of the artists in this work are literally only showing one piece. That's what they had and that's what they created. But these pieces are just incredible and a really remarkable work.
So my understanding is that you have chosen 23 artists.
Yeah, I think we're up to 23.
Which is pretty impressive. And
Yeah.
they're both mostly local Gorge area
Yeah.
artists, but there are a few from beyond our region, which is always really exciting to bring in new work to expose to the other artists and people who love to look at art. So can you talk a little bit about what when you were looking at the art, was there a process for you about how you were going to choose pieces, or did you just there was a compelling piece to it that you looked for, or what was your process?
Yeah, what I was really focused on, and I think what at least the other artists with day jobs will focus on when they're looking at that work is you have an understanding of what it took to create that piece. And not just that one piece, but the years that it takes to develop your craft and to develop your familiarity with the media that you're working in, your familiarity and mastery of the tools needed to create this work. And so, it was really beyond just the object or the message of the work. And what I was really looking at is the work of the work. What went into this piece? How many years of work did it take this person to get to this point in their development of their voice, of their hand, of their their overall maturity of their work. And we have really beautiful paintings. We have some really amazing mixed media pieces. Which I find always just really compelling because it takes so much to master those materials, and just the work of building something that exists in 3D space. As a painter, I admire sculptors incredibly. Particularly, I'm excited about the work of Mike Ruff, who is a metal artist, and also he works with metal in his day. He's an educator, and I think he's also a machinist, and he has submitted 2 incredible metal pieces that I'm really excited about. One that was inspired by the show and talks specifically about making art while you're also working. So I'm excited about his pieces.
Yeah, great. And was there anything about the show when you were looking at the work that there was a common message from the artist, or anything, surprises or anything that sort of came up with you as you were looking through the work? And
really it was a mixture of that limited volume of submissions, right? So limited inventory, but really high quality products, really high quality work. And a lot of it, I feel, is really emotionally charged. I think part of what we're going to be seeing and hearing about and experiencing is how high contrast a life is that is sort of split between, the dedicated, focused art making timeline and other daily concerns and working. One of the things we're asking each of the artists to do is submit a photo of themselves in their workspace, in their day job workspace, and also in their art making workspace. And we want to, have those together along with their artist statement. And I think to sort of just bring into focus that contrast, part of what drives folks in their art making space is sort of this total dedication to telling the truth. You to make good art, you're telling the truth. And in many work settings, to be a good employee, that's the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. You're really not supposed to be expressing yourself too much. And if you are, you're not supposed to be overly truthful, right? So, I think that's a really amazing space for a person to live in. And to switch, sort of toggle back and forth. So, I'm really fascinated by that, and to see the energy that goes into the art that was either accelerated by the day job or sort of saved and reserved. I mean, I think there's a lot of mental habits and physical habits. Art making is very physical work. It's something that is hard to do when you're really tired. So many artists have to make a conscious effort to plan their art making in a certain times of their day so they have energy. So it's all that sort of, how did you get that done? That I think is fascinating. And some of the work, especially, I wanted to mention the work of Cheryl Quintana. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but just masterful ceramic work that I was completely blown away by the high quality of her work, and really excited to display some of her pieces.
Well, and there's definitely a balance piece to it, right? For people who are working and who are also artists, who are artists and working, that there is a balance of being able to cope with, being in an environment where you have to watch yourself, or you have to behave a certain way or whatever.
Which is, that's every job.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
And then be able to be in a space where you can do just the opposite, like you say, and that there's a real balance, a healthy balance there. So it's almost like it's for a lot of people, and I'd love to hear from you on this as one of these artists. It might be a necessity for your mental health to have both. For you to be able to have the opportunity to do the painting, like the work you have behind you, and where that takes you, and what you let go of to go there, and how you come out of it with more energy, even when you probably go and exhausted.
Exactly.
And you can come out, and that there's a real sense of rejuvenation that can happen.
And
so what is
exactly, like 8 hours in your studio versus 8 hours at your day job, talk about how that's physically feels different, and how does that, even how, the passage of time feels different. Yeah. It's an amazing experience.
Or the lack of awareness of the passage of time versus looking at the clock.
Yeah. And then, there's this other layer of, I don't know, of the 23 artists that we have, I don't know how many of them have shown work before. So, sort of a contrast to full-time artists who, have a practice of submitting work and understand the jurying process and understand, how galleries work. My guess is that most of these folks have done that, but I'm not sure. So then there's that also, like, what's the experience? What if my boss sees my work, right? So there's, it's just, it's a really emotional show. Yeah. And I think it's a really emotional show that people can really get the emotion and put themselves in that place. Like you said, just the mental health benefits of making art. At least for myself, and most of the artists that I know, it's really, there's not an option. You couldn't not do it. For large periods of your life, though, from my personal experience, working and as a new mother especially, there were long periods of time where I wasn't working in my studio, and there's just only so many hours in the day. And it really took, for me anyway, for my son to be a certain age where, he was a little bit more independent, and then a really disciplined habit of, getting up before everybody, using my lunch hours for practice, using my evenings for practice when I could. And I would just want to talk to people about that. I really want to hear how other folks did that. Yeah. And how they created their space.
Well, you're definitely not alone, that's for sure. And I
No,
love
not at
I
all.
love the passion that you bring to the exhibit, and that it's just a really great idea. And I'm really glad you and Rachel were able to bring it
Yes,
together.
and Rachel is a fourth layer, like,
Yeah.
fourth dimension. We are featuring some of her work. And so her boss is going to see her work.
Yeah. I
And
know.
all of us. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. And she's a remarkable glass artist with some amazing pieces. And Glass in the Gorge, I think, is really sort of undervalued in a way, because there are so many just spectacular glass artists in the Gorge doing amazing things with that media. And Rachel's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad people are going to see her work.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Well, it's going to open on September 3rd at Columbia Center for the Arts in downtown Hood River and run for the whole month. And there will be an opening for First Friday. We're not sure about how the COVID restrictions are going to play out. We won't be doing a big reception as we'd hope, but the doors will be open. I know, exactly.
This is how you'll
Masks
recognize me
on.
this way.
Masks on, but doors will be open for people to come in and enjoy and to celebrate with the artists. We'll definitely have some of the artists there, and it's always great to support and encourage them. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what's up on the walls and hanging from the ceiling or wherever it's going to be. It's going to be really, really wonderful, and I'm excited about it. And thank you, Genevieve, for your time and your energy and commitment to the arts. We all benefit from it.
Speaking of day jobs, I can't thank you enough for your leadership these past couple of years. We're going to miss you so much, and you've just been so fantastic.
I'll be around. Don't you?
All right.